I know, but has it been tested? I know, but has it been tested?
I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. This is being held and transmitted electronically via the council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road. To order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 10th. I'd like to acknowledge that we're 2024 today on this is being held and transmitted electronically via the council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road. To order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 10th. Acknowledge that we're 2024 today on this is being held and transmitted electronically via the council chambers located at 39 South Road. To order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 10th. Acknowledge that we're 2024 today and this is being held and transmitted electronically by the council chambers located at 39 South Road. We'll carry on. That's better. So with no late items, I will look for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Councillor Austin. All those in favour? Approved. I don't believe there's any public input tonight, as I see no one in attendance. For information only, the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting from November 12th. Any discussion on those? No. Moving on, business arising and unfinished business. From the CAO, we have the public notifications by additional means. Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, at a previous meeting, council had indicated that we weren't doing enough publicizing of the public hearing process. So I've actually outlined a few measures we could take to do that. And I have shown that on the second page. Maybe do additional work to publicize the meetings.
Okay, any discussion on that? Mayor McGonigal?
Well, I know that we're supposed to adhere to legislation, but given some of that is within newsprint and the lack of that accommodation within our community, I think wherever applicable to advertise it on our website and Facebook pages could be another means of advertising instead of the surrounding properties, just for public interest, if nothing else, to show the process of what happens in these cases.
Councillor Vimaka?
Thank you. And so just a question to our CAO, when we mail, do we mail just regular mail or do we do, what do they call it? Certified mail?
Yeah, just regular mail.
Just regular mail. And so if it could potentially be sitting in somebody's postal box if they're away on holidays.
Yeah, well, what happens is a lot of times when people get mail from the town, they kind of ignore it because they think it's, either taxes or bills that they have to take care of. That happens. And we get mail that sits in there and that's returned to us after a certain amount of time. And even when we send it by certified mail, some of that comes back to us. So I'm not sure what is the best method of mailing that out. Because I think the best thing we could do is emails. That way we're assured that it gets to the individuals.
Okay. And if I can ask one more is once we redid the town hall, we did away with our public notification board outside. And was there any plans to put in a better, more informative board, especially when we have things like fire warnings, things that are of public interest? We were talking about maybe having one of those signs installed that was lit up that we could just, like a TV screen that we could put messages. So when people were coming out of the post office, as soon as they look across the street, They don't have to physically come over and look at posters all over in the board.
Yes, we had considered putting a TV board by the building here on one of the windows. And that may be another way of publicizing meetings. Only issue is it could be so bright that it might distract drivers on the street.
I think you can put something in it that you could have hours that you could probably turn it off or to dim it.
Yeah.
But I was just wanted to bring that up to the table that if we can find a way to let people know in all forms, even
Yeah.
though we're doing what we need to legally do, we can do just a little bit better with our
Better.
notification
Yeah.
system. But it's up to the table if they'd like to do something.
Mayor McGonigal?
And during the planning process of, before the implementation of the renovations, there was considerable discussion about a digitized billboard, so to speak. If it was something small placed inside in the window that scrolled, something similar to some businesses that do that advertising and can be programmed through a laptop or through Bluetooth, that would be another accommodating factor. It could advertise everything from our public meetings to any open houses that we may have, or public hearings, zoning amendments, election results, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, if we were doing one now, the 10 people would not be getting their mail, given that no one is. So that's another mitigating factor for looking at alternative options as well.
Any further discussion? If we did want to install some of these recommendations, additional steps, you'd need someone to move that?
Yes, and that would mean amending the bylaw that I referred to earlier, the development approval process bylaw.
Would anyone want to move those? Okay, we got moved by Councillor Sandhu and seconded by Councillor Austin. Just go through that. Do I need to read those out, the 4 recommendations? Okay, where applicable, particularly when amendments initiated by owners of property, on-site signage professionally done are required and posted indicating the nature of amendments being proposed. Note 2, public notice posting places, the municipal hall at 39 South Shore Road and the main page of the town's website. 3, social media postings, public hearings are posted on Facebook at least 14 days prior to the hearing. And 4, where the public have provided personal email notification of public hearings may be provided to those individuals if the amendments affect an excess of 10 parcels. Okay, I will call the question. Or any discussion, sorry?
Yeah, just wondering about the Mayor McGonigal's suggestion of putting in a digital board.
Yeah, I guess if we move this and then we could do a direction to staff to look into that. You happy with
If
that?
I may, if we're going to amend it, we should add that at this time. So
Okay,
I will move that a digitized signboard be looked at to accommodate messaging as well.
okay, so under point 2 with the public notice posting places, we also add a digital notification at 39 South Shore Road. Okay, any discussion on that? No, I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. And then further to that, can we have a direction to staff to look into having one of those installed, a screen at the front of the town hall, please? Thank you for that. Question?
To our CAO, does that have to go to budget? Okay, thank you.
No delegations and representatives tonight. Correspondence, Lake Cowichan School, financial assistant for the senior girls volleyball team participating in provincials. Do you want to go to Mayor McGonigal?
Unfortunately, this has lapsed in timing just because of the way our meetings came forward. They already had partaken in the championships, placed 14th. So they did quite well for a small school, and looking forward to maybe a repeat for next year is the anticipation. So hopefully it'll come a little bit sooner for any financial assistance should that occur again. There was some funding that was provided by other organizations, so I believe they did fairly well.
Thank you for that and congratulations. On to reports, Director of Finance, financial report for the period ending November 30th, 2024. Would you like to address that, Mr. Fernandez? I can repeat that if you want. We're just highlighting the Sandy dump revenue, which is doubled this year to 36,000 with 5,000 in costs. So it's good to see, and I believe that next year will be even more if we can get a few more people paying.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
Yeah, and just if you've got any questions on the financial statements, I will do my best to answer.
Councillor Sandhu?
I just had a couple questions. One under parks. One question was Joginder Baines Park. The budget was 4,000 and the actual to date is $7,721. So that's 193% over. Just curious on that. And the other one is, what is Parks General?
Parks General is just anything to do with parks, but can be assigned to any particular park. So if you're buying fertilizer and if we don't have it assigned to any park,
Yeah.
it will go into that. It's a catch-all.
One more question. The other question, one more question was sidewalks under the budget. It was 50,000 and we haven't used any of that. Can we look at, like what we've done with the snow removal budget can we all put that into any unused funds into next year to be able to kind of up the revenue that we could use?
Yeah, if I may, the issue is, setting up reserve funds just for that particular purpose may not be a way to go because you can just draw it back from surplus and take care of any additional capital works you need in terms of the sidewalks. That's just from my, just
Yeah.
from a accounting viewpoint.
I wasn't sure if that was because it's capital, if you could utilize, like transfer it to like a,
Oh, you can, yeah, it goes to surplus, so anything that's unspent, and then we bring it back.
okay,
Like if we've got, in fact, we may have additional expenses in 2025, more than the 50,000.
Yeah.
So we will just show that much more for 2025, as long as the budget balances.
Yeah.
That will be okay.
okay. Well, just one more comment on that then. So when we're doing budget, could there be a recommendations from the public works superintendent saying, this is the area I'd like to do that, this year or whatever, and kind of break down the cost so we could act accordingly in the budget is
Yeah.
just so we've got a good chunk of money, because $50,000 right now for cement and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah, it's a guesstimate at the end of the
Yeah.
day, because we've done that over the years, but it's never worked out that way. And on the Joginder Park issue, I think I will let the superintendent speak to that.
Yeah, there was just a little bit more stuff we had to do around there than normal. Tree removal and cleanup stuff, so.
Just going to piggyback on that, if I may. Just with the sidewalks, I know that we're challenged about 18 months ago to do a walk as a council for accessibility through town. I just asked fellow councillors if we can come up with a date for that and get that done pretty soon. That'd be fantastic. Councillor Austin.
Yeah, I think we said in the spring when the weather's a little, I think we did it in March once before. I had a question. I was a little confused about the second point in the points of note. To date, 9 niches have been sold in the columbarium in 2024. There are a total of 31 niches remaining for sale. 65 have been sold. Doesn't quite. If 65 have been sold, how many did we have to start with? And it said 9 niches have been sold in the columbarium just this year, but, okay, I just thought it sounded a little. Does that mean how many are filled? Because they're,
Well, if I may, people buy spots, but
yeah,
they may remain empty. Because,
empty, yeah,
they buy for their families and their spouses.
yeah. Okay, I just wondered how many, okay, thank you.
Mayor McGonigal.
And I'm gonna piggyback on that as well. With 31 remaining and sales of 9 per year, for instance, we had looked at accommodating a third niche if necessary, within that confines. Is that still able to be accommodated? Should we need more in the future?
It's a spot.
There is room, if we want to add some more. We could probably get a couple more in there. Depends on what we want to do.
I think if you look at statistically, British Columbia has one of the highest cremation rates in all of Canada of approximately 73% of people choose that as their way of being remembered. So this is the only opportunity locally to have your family, friends, or relatives memorialized in a columbarium with the lack of a cemetery, a standalone cemetery, which unfortunately we can't accommodate within our water table here. We did a study many years ago and found that that was not applicable within our area. So this is just another option to look at for people to be remembered. And my only opportunity to have riverfront property, I believe. So I will be looking at a niche in the very near future for my time when it comes.
They're selling fast.
And please, if you feel so obligated, you could generously contribute to that.
Any other questions? I just want to point out as well, in the points of note, the Cowichan Lake Education Centre and Lakeview Park are anticipated to end the year with a net surplus. So well done to Mr. Smith on that. Anything to report from Lakeview or the Click?
I could take an hour.
Go for it.
No, I'm only kidding. So far, those figures are, preliminary figures with our surplus. And we're trying to get through some of our projects because now we don't have any guests there. And at this point in time where, we just finished laying a new flooring in one of the seminar rooms. A couple more mini split units have just recently gone in for, to reduce some of our use of propane. And so they're all good points. And this is the time of year that we're doing some work, bit of extra painting inside. So those figures won't look exactly like that in the next month, but it's in the right direction, of course. And part of that, of course, is because we've, well, for a number of reasons, actually, we've been increasing our rates over the last few years, high percentages, 15% and 5%. And for this coming year, we're projecting probably another 5%. So that all helps. And I think we're going in the right direction.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, one last thing.
Yeah.
There's lots of work to do. There's a lot of improvements that can be done. So when we finish our budgeting process, then you'll get an opportunity as mayor and council to say yay or nay and maybe some big projects, because I'm reflecting back on Mayor McGonigal's last year's comments about asking about a price for electrifying more sites at the campsite. So we're getting preliminary numbers in for that. It's expensive, but then you have to take a look at the rate of return because you're charging for electricity. So there's a lot of good things happening, and I look forward to talking about this stuff during budget time.
Awesome. Next up, we have the Lake Cowichan Building Inspection Report for October 24th. Do we have to move those, or are they just, no, just for information? Same with the November report. Any discussion on those two reports? Yep. Thank you. Moving on to Lake Cowichan Fire Department incident report for November 2024. Would anyone like to move that amount? Councillor Sandhu moves the amount of $15,347.63. Can we have a seconder on that? Councillor Wamaka? I'll call the question. All those in favour? And that is passed. How many fire alarm call outs do we have this? Are we good? Oh, one. Not too bad. Next up, we have nothing for Parks Rec. After that, we have Public Works and Environmental Services. Progress on the sanitary sewer upgrades.
So as you probably all know, this year, in May, we connected the cell 3 that was originally built in 2015, I believe it was. So that we put that into operation. And in June, we installed a alum injection system that helps reduce the phosphorus going into the river. So we got that operating in July. And then in August, we were able to hold the effluent for just over 3 weeks without discharging anything into the river. With that new cell connected, we held it there as long as we could. And once it filled up, it automatically starts releasing. That happened right in the hottest time of the year. So it significantly helped this year. So in doing these few procedures, it helped the pH. The total ammonia came down quite a bit. The phosphorus came down, the DO was good. Yeah, so it has all helped. But we're still getting questioned from just about every ministry. The last one I spoke with is Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, and that's the federal government. And we sat down and went over everything we've done and showed them the results, and they're all happy, but they said, what's your next step? And what are you going to do? What's your plan B? What's your plan C? What if A doesn't work? What's the next step? What's the next step? And they want answers because they don't, even though they know we're in design phase, that's not good enough for them. They want answers. What's going to happen? Because as far as the federal government's concerned, it's illegal to discharge anything into the river. The province gives us a permit, but the federal says it's illegal to do that. So, but they also understand that we can't stop doing it. So we're under the gun to do more and more because you just can't stop and wait until your design's done. So we're working on other solutions. One is looking at desludging. We've got some quotes. It's very expensive. So we're again looking at some options there. We got some more meetings with engineers, possibly looking at a BNR plant. Dalton and I went up into the interior and looked at one earlier in the year. So, and we finally got from the ministry, the provincial ministry that gives us the permits, they finally assigned a person to our file here. So now we're meeting with her next week, and they're going to tell us their wants, what they want, how the upgrades they want. Is it the lagoon? Do we have to do this, or do we have to put a plant in? Or so that's the starting phase now, finally there. And that's about it for that.
So just on that, because I know that we've been challenged to come up with that plant, and I know there's financial constraints to that one. But I just was wondering, with the design phase, are we spending money on a lagoon design that we may not end up using?
Yes,
And is it a considerable amount?
it is, yeah. But we don't have any choice because, like I said, the federal government, they're the ones that have thrown the fines at us if we don't do something. So they're saying you got to keep doing something. You can't stop and wait. So they also understand we haven't got the province, because they've been busy. They haven't been able to tell us what they want. So we're in a kind of a difficult situation.
With your meeting coming up with the province, I guess the decision could be taken out of our hands. Excuse me. We may have to go to a plant anyway. Was that a possibility?
That's a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with some of the things that are happening, I've been to a couple of meetings with the watershed, and there's some very knowledgeable people there. And they're also saying that the government may change the regulations, what we're allowed to discharge into the river. The quality of effluent within 5 years might completely change, and we could upgrade the lagoon, and in 5 years they can say it's not good enough. So that's another dilemma. Do we upgrade the lagoon X number of millions, or do we put a plant in and then we're good? So there's some hard decisions we have to make. It's a lot of money, but
Councillor Sandhu.
So there, at the fish kill workshop last week, maybe you could reflect on that a little bit. And the other thing is, something that was said there is that the town's going to be having a meeting with Ken and a couple other people next week.
yeah.
So maybe you could just elaborate just on who they are again and.
So the workshop Christine's referring to, that's the Cowichan watershed, where I was saying there's a lot of knowledgeable people. One of the speakers there was Ken Ashley. That's the same fella that worked the thing we went to in Duncan. He was there, spoke on those same items, and different ministry people. So they're all involved in this, and they're willing to help us too. They're saying, we can give you support letters for more fund, if you're looking for more funding, we'll support it. Cowichan tribes and all these people are all behind us because they know the situation of the river. For the meeting next week, we got Ken Ashley, Dr. Don Manovic, and a few other engineers from A&E coming up. And possibly they're going to give us some ideas and explanations about the BNR plant, what that's all about. So.
Ma'am, oh, sorry. Ma'am, follow up.
I was just going to ask, would it be a good move to have the mayor attend that meeting and just his presence? Or would that not be appropriate at this time?
It's appropriate. Anytime the mayor wants to come to the meeting, he's welcome. It's you as a group should also hear what they've got to say.
Ma'am, gotta go.
I think moving on after that meeting would be a time for us to be briefed on what occurred. But I think collectively, we feel that that is the appropriate route forward. It is a plant that reduces the sludge by 75% in that system, giving us much more time that we don't have to spend on desludging, which nobody wants anymore. Through that system, it becomes an inert substance and can be taken care of quite more appropriately than the current system. If it's more funding we need, then we have to be political and look for senior levels of government to protect the Heritage River with something else than just a letter that states it's a heritage river. There should be funding that goes along with that designation to keep it in the pristine state that it should be. One of only 44 in Canada. Let's see and do everything we can to protect it. So once that meeting has been accomplished, I think staff should do that first and then come back and we can have a workshop on that if we need to with those gentlemen, if that's appropriate, or with the CAO and the superintendent, just to fill us in on what next steps might be appropriate. We're quite close to Victoria, and now that we know who is in power, would be the time to twist some political arms and see if there's any accommodation for some extra financial help. We're very pleased and thankful for the funding that was given to us. But if we're painting a Volkswagen yellow, to think we're going to have a Cadillac, all we're going to have is a yellow Volkswagen. So if we need to go that route, let's do it now. There was some discussion that perhaps some upfront work on that lagoon with the desludging could accommodate some further progress in that plant. And if that comes forward, then maybe that's the direction we should go.
Any further discussion on that? Yeah, I think from the federal government saying that we shouldn't be pumping into the river, and the reports and people speaking that I've seen, I mean, the plant is a bit of a no-brainer. It's just a money thing, isn't it? So I realize we can campaign as much as we can for more money, but it wouldn't be bad if we got very vocal on this and said, look, this is what we want to do, and put as much pressure as we can, because we want to put a statement out there that we care about the river and get things sorted out. Anything further on that, guys? No? Okay, moving on. We don't have any new business. Any notices of motion? Nothing? Okay, you guys ready for the phone to ring off the hook? We have question period. We have no one in attendance. Phone number is 250-749-3239 if anyone does have any questions. I don't know if I'm meant to wait for that. Count to 10. We'll pause. I don't think it's never rung, is it? Okay, no in camera tonight? Okay. After 30 minutes, would anyone like to move to adjourn this meeting?